And I'm really excited about this first match, which is going to be between, it's actually our match of the week, and it's the first match of the whole thing. We're in Washington, D.C. for this one, so the Washington Justice do have the seventh man, Yiska. They've got the seventh man with them on their team, but the match of the week is going to be the New York Excelsior versus the Philadelphia Fusion. If you've been watching, or if you haven't been watching the last 2 weeks, the both of these teams walked away undefeated, only dropping one map in each of their 2 games, or between their 2 games total. So as we go into week 3, Joe, who do you think has the upper hand going into this match? We've seen interesting looks from both teams for sure.
Yeah, I think New York in general, I came out of week 1 with New York kind of seeing their progress, their new coaching staff, their new players. Like this isn't the same old New York, the same old tired, passive New York. They do want to be a little bit more proactive. I do expect them to kind of come out and play some weird stuff. Depending on the maps, like we could see more dive, Horizon, Temple, stuff like that. But again, I think it's going to be a stylistic matchup where Philly is still kind of like planting their feet and saying, no, we're going to play Poco. We're going to play a fair amount of Orisa still, at least on, Sunday. They didn't play as much of it, but, still a good amount on control. But yeah, generally like kind of the innovators versus like kind of standard play in Philly. And that's where I kind of have to give a skeptical hippo eye at New York here, because there's a lot of trying going on with New York. They're trying, Zarya on control. They're playing a little bit more dive. If Philly can answer those questions, what does New York look like? And also, where is Libero? Like this kid has been an absolute stud for 2 years. And now we're playing Who Are You, who both through the eye test and at least statistically isn't really performing.
True.
It's a little weird. Apparently that was going on, and that's how they've been practicing. So obviously you want to kind of stick to your guns and what you've been practicing. But yeah, I really don't see New York taking this. I'd be interested in seeing how close it is, because that's still kind of up in the air for me, because New York is also a team that, I wouldn't say struggled in putting away London, but dropped the map and control was close. That doesn't really lend a whole lot of security for me, a lot of confidence. We can talk about day one jitters, it's the first game. I give you that. Then they beat up on Boston, so that's really not like a case point. Now they have to play a arguably top 5 team right now. Granted, we haven't seen a ton of play from Philly, but on paper they look stellar. So what do they look like now? I think this is going to be a big litmus test for both teams, but especially New York.
Fair enough. I do. So do you think that any of this, like this is maybe the conspiracy or skeptic?
Should I get my tinfoil?
Yeah, there's a few things that are really interesting about week 1. Number 1, Who Are You? Actually, I need to double check this. Who Are You just came of age over the off season, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So, fresh blood. They're the teams that they were playing, while they aren't necessarily bad teams. Well, you could argue Boston is, but I don't think do you think like there was some just confidence there to like, what, let's give Who Are You the look. He's young. People are excited to see him. We're not going to drop these games. We're in New York for the opening. Like, let's just give him the time.
No, I pretty sure Who Are You was seeing a good amount of play, even in the preseason, which surprised me.
Yeah, a lot of time in scrims. That's the biggest theory that speaks against him just being a like a
kind of like a style pick. Yeah. Yeah, I think there might have been some confidence, especially with like how, I mean, it's tough to say because it's so, we haven't seen them we haven't really seen them play against like a difficult team. Like London came in, there's a lot of questions there. We still really don't know how to feel about them. At least I don't. I won't speak for everybody. And yeah, this is where I'm gonna start to see, like, we've seen them play against, a middle of the pack team in London, Boston obviously being in the bottom two. Now we get to see them play against people who kind of should give them a run for their money. So yeah, this will just be like a test for them. If they can beat them, then I'm all on board. But I think this is going to be a tough task to put Philly away.
Interesting.
Who has the upper hand for you?
For me, NYXL. I think the Fusion looked way more vulnerable in their matches than, especially against Washington, than the NYXL did. They could have easily lost control the first if Carpe doesn't decide to just like take over the last set map. Those were very close. I think generally that there were some jitters in that. I feel like Fusion wasn't playing up to their level just yet in the first match, and then looked more confident in the second one. Like we talked about it a little bit in the review show, that it seemed like, especially like the back line needed to find themselves a little bit, and then it looked like much more dominating against the Mayhem. Of course, like these guys are rookies, so a game is fine. Like to not be at 100%. So I think this will be an amazing match for sure. I just wonder how cohesive of a fight they will put up against the NYXL. And while I don't agree with the betting odds just now, but it's not far away. I would say 60% NYXL.
What are the odds?
65-35 NYXL.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there is a lot. There are legs to stand on with that argument from Saturday of last week. Philly did look shaky. Like there's an argument to be made that they probably shouldn't have won that match against Justice. They probably didn't deserve it after that Temple of Anubis absolute throw and just sloppy play overall. Yeah, I would say that Justice could have easily beaten them, but I think they looked like a different team coming into Sunday. I think they completely just dispatched Florida. That could be a stylistic matchup because we know that Florida, is running an interesting back line. So there's room for that. But I saw a lot of improvement, specifically kind of deviating away from how much Orisa they've been playing. And I think that that's probably for the best. It could be map dependent. I'm not entirely too sure just yet, but I hope it's not. Not to say that Orisa is bad, but I think she's more dependent than I think people are giving her credit for. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in Philly here. I'd be interested to see. It'll be a close match either way, but I think Philly's got this pretty good.
So we did see some surprise roster changes, I think, from both teams. Philadelphia Fusion, we saw Poco, no Fury. For me, that was surprising. I understand Poco's diva is still good. Yeah. But I don't know. It's Fury.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
And
I struggle to come up with like excuses on why they're not. It could be a lot of different things, but we have no idea, to be completely honest. Could be communication, could be that Poco does something intangible for the team that Fury just can't. I have not a clue on why you wouldn't play him.
And I think that kind of goes to, no Fury. We saw Ivy over EQO, which is less surprising to me, except for the fact that he was their main in stage 4, right? Sure. So we know EQO played a ton of May. Ivy, I don't believe, played a ton of May, if I remember looking correctly. So, but again, we could say at the very least Toronto left Ivy pretty underutilized, I think.
Could say he left him out in the cold.
Oh, and that's
a crickets. That's a...
Oh, this thing isn't working. Boo. Boo. There you go. So, yeah. So, I mean, just kind of weird little quirks that, I mean, I think we expected probably not to see Sabioli the full time. I think that made sense, but no Libero. I don't think that was what we expected either.
Not at all.
So, Joe, for you, do you think the fusion with Poco is the best look for them right now with this meta?
I think for the style that they want to play and what they've been practicing, that's kind of how I'm theorizing why they're playing so much Poco, is that they want to play Orisa on control. They want to play Orisa on certain like hybrid point A's and certain 2CP point A's and point B's. And that's kind of how or what homework they've given Poco. It's like, okay, you need to learn Orisa. This is what, the scrim meta has been. It's starting to kind of dwindle. It's starting to go away with how powerful and how aggressive divas can be. I think that power dynamic's going to shift, and maybe next week, maybe a week after, or, the third or fourth game that Philly plays, we should see Fury start to rotate in. And obviously meta changes and hero pools come in at that point. So this just could be temporary. They could be competing for starting spots. It is bizarre, right? Like I can't understate that. Like Fury is a sick player, but I think just for the style that they're aiming to play, for the practice they've put in, I would imagine that they've probably played with Poco a little bit more because of the Orisa, and because of that, that's why they're playing him. So
yeah. Also, like what this told me, and that's kind of interesting. So let me first introduce a concept to the listeners. There's a phenomenon in Overwatch, and it's as old as European Overwatch, and it's called the French Mafia. The French Mafia is basically once one French individual, either coach or player, knows anything, the entire hive mind of French players knows everything. Now, if you guys recall, like, Poco made like a tweet and asked like, who am I going to see at the arena? La la la. And Hib replied, the bench. Now, that implies to me that that Poco is not part of the French Mafia, which is quite interesting. But because otherwise, they would have already, telepathically known that he was going to play. Unless it was a debate, in which case, French Mafia, you're smarter than I am.
You never know with the French Mafia, man.